the culture is very much you go to school, you study, you go to work, you do a load of work for a bunch of years, and then you retire and then you die.
Today, we're discussing the choices you make and how they shape who you become in life.
I came out of a meeting where I'd been told my job was redundant, and I walked out of it, and I knew two things at that point. One was I don't want to do computing anymore. And the second thing was whatever I did next, it had to be something that I felt passionate about and I felt really aligned with.
How the actions you take when life deals you a bad hand determine your success or failure.
I look back on my life and I think everything we do shapes who we are.
The theme is embracing life's tapestry, and my guest is Dave Cordle. Dave used to be a cartographer with the British government. You now help people to achieve success in their careers. What circumstances in life shaped you to become the person you are today?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question, and I think making that direct link that you've just made, sort of from cartographer to career coach. Um, I look back on my life, and I think everything we do shapes who we are. I started walking and in the mountains when I was a youngster. With the Scouts, and I just got a great love of it and had an ambition to go on bigger expeditions and things. And I guess when I was struggling at school with A levels and not really sure what to do, and my mum noticed an advert for trainee cartographers, I thought, well, this is it. I love being outdoors, and the opportunity to create the maps that I was using to help other people find their way was a great thing. And of course, we were mapping Africa rather than the UK or Europe, but it was fascinating nevertheless. And I guess where that relates to today is, and I use a lot of analogies from that in my work, is that what I do now is help people to navigate their careers, to understand what the territory looks like in terms of careers and work, and to be able to navigate that. And I think it also sort of links in between those two things that you mentioned. I sort of squeezed in a career in computer systems as well. And I think for a lot of the things that we use in our careers, it's about having strategies that help us get where we want to get to more quickly, which for me kind of relates to the to the computing side of things. And alongside all of that, I've always worked with young people. I've always done I built on those ambitions for walking, and I've done some marvelous expeditions in the big mountain ranges, the Himalayas, the Andes, and so on, and in both the polar regions. And there's a great analogy for how we live our lives in those expeditions, because we need to do some preparation. We need to understand the skills we've got, what our values are, what we want to get out of the journey, and then we need to be able to decide where we're going, and to be able to not just reach the peaks, as it were, and the mountain tops, but to also have the skills to actually enjoy those journeys and to overcome whatever obstacles there are on the way and embrace them in a way that any challenge is helping us to get where we want to get to eventually, rather than just purely hindering us.
You mentioned there about your school life at the very outset of your answer. Did you find that when you were studying for your A levels, you prefer to keep your head down and get the best possible result in those subjects you were studying for, as against developing your overall personality?
That's a really good question. And if I look back, probably it's better to go a little bit before the A levels to the previous qualifications, where I think I did enough to get decent results, but I did a lot of things outside of my studies that I think developed me further, particularly through scouting. That was the particular sort of young person's organization I belonged to, but that gave me people skills, team working skills, leadership skills, and just generally skills for life. So when I came to the A levels, you mentioned, avoided sort of looking at them, because I suppose that was a time for really getting down and studying. And I really didn't get on with them. And that may have been because I chose the wrong subjects. I don't know whether that was anything to do with it, but I found that it was if I look back on it, it's like it was a rainy day, and I left those studies in the first term actually to become a trainee cartographer, and doing something that was more outward focused, that was, I suppose, more aligned with what I felt inside, was really, for me, helping me to be on purpose. And I think that's something that if I look over my life and over the people I work with, trying to find something that's aligned with what's in our hearts is really, really important for fulfillment, happiness, and those sorts of things.
And when you work, as a computer programmer with the British government, you also worked as a cartographer. Did you always find that there was a kind of a void in your life whilst you were working in those professions?
I think there was, if I look back, and I think at the time I didn't realize it, because I think we're brought up in a society that's, not just here in the UK and where you are in Ireland, but I think globally, particularly in the West, the culture is very much, you go to school, you study, you go to work, you do a load of work for a bunch of years, and then you retire and then you die, kind of thing, which is a little bit, yeah, it's a simplistic way of looking at it, but I think when the moment that I realized that I hadn't had my sort of heart and soul in those previous things, and there was nothing wrong with those careers. Particularly computing was well paid, the work was okay, the people were reasonably nice, and the same with cartography. But at the moment I knew that was when I came out of a meeting where I'd been told my job was redundant, and I walked out of it, and I knew two things at that point. One was, I don't want to do computing anymore. And the second thing was, whatever I did next, it had to be something that I felt passionate about and I felt really aligned with.
And how did you manage the transition from computer programming to career coach, career mountaineer as such? Did you have to develop a whole range of front office skills that you might have lacked in the past?
I think what it did was it allowed me to bring to, I mean, I did have to develop new skills, of course, particularly the more technical aspects of careers around helping people prepare for interviews, CVs, cover letters, those practical things. Um, but I think it allowed me to bring together a lot of skills that I already had. And the journey was really one, and it's something that, I'm sure you work with people, and I do, where they're in that, I've got no idea what I want to do next type of thing. All I want to be is happy, and sometimes that's the best goal to have, because it's a really good compass to help you make decisions. And I started, this is a really powerful exercise, although it's very simple, is just by writing a list of all the things I thought I might want to do if there weren't any restrictions. And I have 4 A4 pages of ideas. I really do. I really had no idea. But to go through them objectively and then imagine yourself being in each of those scenarios is a process that really helps you to narrow it down. And for me, it's not about finding the one, it's about finding maybe 3 or 4 things. And in my case, it was counseling and teaching and adventure tour leading and writing, which is a manageable number of things to start researching. And the facilities we've got to research now on the internet are fabulous, but it's still most powerful when you go and speak to people who are doing those roles. And that's what I did. I went and spoke to people who were doing those sort of 4 different things. And I guess sort of the practical implication was, it was a time in my life when I was about to get married. We were hoping to have a family, and I couldn't imagine at that point making money from writing enough to support a family. I couldn't imagine being in as an adventure tour leader, being away for so much of the year. So I focused on counselling and teaching, and at some point, someone, whether it was me or one of my career coaches at the time, said, "Well, look, these things you're looking into, there are, the skills from teaching and counselling are the skills, some of them, that a career coach uses." And that's what started me talking to people who worked as career professionals, and finding out how you did it and what could you do. And at that point I discovered I had to be self-employed, which, coming from a background of always being in a salaried job, was quite a scary proposition. Um, but because I found something that I knew really aligned with who I was and who I wanted to be, it made making that scary leap a lot easier. And the fact I'm still here 22 years later, and I love it when I get up in the morning and I'm going to do my work, says that that was a good process and a good decision for me.
I can empathize with you, Dave, because like yourself, I was made redundant from a profession I was in for 25 years. I was an accountant in industry. And when I was made redundant, I realized that was the end of one chapter of my life. I had to go and, you know, open a new chapter and identify what I had to do for the rest of my life to find my purpose, values, and interest in life. So, like yourself, I transitioned from accountancy into career coaching, and I do love the work that I'm doing. And like yourself, I've had to, really look hard at myself and say, what skills do I need to develop to become a much more successful career coach into the future. And for me, it's kind of those front office skills, networking, sales, getting out there to meet people, getting relaxed and comfortable around people has been a big learning point for myself. What inspires you most to be successful in life?
I think it's I think joy would be the one word that sums it all up. Is It's about doing things where I feel joy and helping other people to experience that. I think it's not about sort of getting ahead of other people. It's going on a journey with people. And I was talking to someone this morning. We've worked together over 6 or so sessions, and she's made some amazing leaps and transformations. I'm sure you experience this with people you work with as well.
Of course.
But for me, that joy is just and it's a privilege as well, being part of someone's journey where they're going from a similar place to I was, not really very happy with where they were and not really thinking they could do something about it, to, oh, well, actually, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could make this leap forward. So, yeah, in terms of sort of my professional life, definitely that. And I was talking about the outside of work aspect of that, because I think joy is not just something I want to experience at work, it's something I want to experience outside. And it's like, where are those places where you find joy? And for me, it's in the mountains. And I was out with my daughter last week in the Lake District. We got half a day in, the weather was so bad, but it was still full of joy. We were soaked, we were battered by the wind, but in here, I felt joy. And I think, if for anyone to be able to understand for them what is that thing that brings them joy, I think is I mean, to me, that's what success is. And I think that's one of the things that we don't we don't teach young people, and I don't think as adults we're aware of. Certainly I wasn't till later in life anyway. But is that success is not what society says success is. It's not about necessarily a job title or a certain amount of money, unless that is what success means to you. And what we need, I think, to transform our global society is to help people to be able to understand what success is for them individually, and to be able to have the tools and the confidence to go out and achieve those things.
You mentioned about the fact that when you're working with your clients, that you get joy from seeing your clients taking massive step forward in their own lives. How important has it been to you over the years as a career coach and a career mountaineer to develop active listening skills and avoid judging your clients?
I think it's really, really important. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned over the years, and I still remind myself of it, is that there's a lot of value in silence and listening, not with an intent to respond or come in with your own ideas, because my idea of success, or even what I perceive as might be good for somebody, might not be what's right for them. And so whilst I will as a coach make suggestions, always with permission and always with the proviso that, you know, I've got something I think that might be useful. If it isn't, feel free to chuck it away.
One final question for you, Dave. If the opportunity came your way to be granted one wish without question, what would that be?
Without a doubt, it would be to have an education system where young people leave education with the skills and confidence to define and create success for themselves.